Starting to build up some reasonable stock of most of the varieties I sell of eucalyptus and other plants. These are viminalis, and don't be fooled by the redness. These are healthy and grow vigorously. Very good stock of Rodwai, definitely one of my picks, especially this year when it's been so wet, because Rodwai are a very tough, resilient swamp gum. These are Murinana, more of a small eucalypt, low growing, kind of experimenting with these, so I'll be planting these below my gunnii hedge, which is now turning into more of a tall screening area. I'd say these Murinana have another possibly 4 weeks before they're actually ready, but they're not too far away. These are Camphora, another swamp gum, another pick here for Ireland. Those that I planted here have been very tough and resilient, no issues with the frosts, severe cold snap towards the end of 2022. These are Glossines, fabulous for foliage, fabulous for firewood, and very tough and resilient. Do have a couple of orders to fulfill for which have Glossines in them, so still I'd say I'd have a few of these, not too many. Get in touch if you're interested. These are Arnagera, good stock of Arnagera, similar to Glossines, very tough and resilient, very hardy. I'd say these would be good at the coast as well. There's one growing not too far away from the coast in Tarbet in Scotland on the west coast. So yeah, if you're near the sea, then these might be a choice for you, but they're very tough and hardy, very frost, cold tolerant, so good anywhere in Ireland. I do have a few hybrid poplar, Arbora and Robusta, not too many. I'll hold my hands up and admit that I messed up on looking after them earlier on. They were in the polytunnel and they didn't have enough hydration during a sunny day. But I do have a few that have survived, so these will be tough and hardy. Get in touch if you're interested, though I have put a few online as in stock. These are Ovata, perhaps not the toughest of the swamp gums, though I think here it wasn't so much the freezing temperatures that got to anything. It would have been the freezing fog that we got, which coated the leaves in a thin layer of ice for a couple of weeks. Anyway, as you can see, there's not a lot of harm done to my mini forest. Everything is thriving. These are the rest of the Rodwai, and like I say, if ever there was a tree for Ireland, it is Rodwai. Very tough and resilient, a swamp gum, really happy in saturated ground, resilient to high, strong winter gales, resilient to freezing temperature and the freezing fog. They were barely touched by any of it. So in the green polytunnels here we have a few regnans, and these have been surprisingly tough and hardy here. I've just planted more. I'm growing a lot more regnans. They just are phenomenal. Their growth rate, 3.5 meters in 1 year for several that I planted. These are gunnii. I might have a few gunnii. Get in touch if you're interested. Subcrenulata, alpine yellow gum, and don't be fooled by the size of these at the moment. They soon grow, and mine here, I'll give you a quick look at them, have been fabulous. They retain their lower leaves and branches, so they're fabulous for screening as well as shelter. They've proved to be very wind resilient, and the frosts didn't affect them at all whatsoever. And I'd say these are growing at around 2 meters per year. I think the best of these are definitely getting on for about 3.5 meters, so maybe 1.5 meters, 2 meters per year. But fabulous for shelter and screening. good stock of Paulownia. Nordmax, definitely one to experiment with if you're interested in growing for timber, and Tomentosa if you're interested in the flowers and the aesthetics, so perhaps one for the beekeepers. Globulus, like Regnans, phenomenal growth rates, and I'll show you some of that later. But these, you know, sowed them on the 10th of June, plugged them up on the 3rd of July, and they're already 15 centimetres tall. And I'll show you some more in the other polytunnel. They just are phenomenal. I'm not sure if I said, but I'm definitely going to be planting more of them here. They didn't prove to be that frost tolerant. Certainly the ones I planted here didn't survive the frosts. Perhaps this would be a better one for coastal areas, but as I say, the growth rate was just phenomenal, and they can be coppiced unlike nitens. These are sequoias, and I have all three varieties this year. So these are sempervirens, commonly known as Californians, and these are metasequoia, the only deciduous sequoia. Their growth rate has been, yeah, they're very healthy, growing well. And these are Gigantea. So these are, as far as I know, these are like the Ben Sherman ones. They're really thick, big in the girth sequoia. So I'd say these probably another maybe 4 weeks as well before these are saleable, plantable. Perhaps the Metasequoia slightly earlier. If you're interested in Metasequoia, then get in touch and I'll pop one of these out of the plug and see what the root ball, see if it's developed enough to ship them. As I said, growing more regnans, so these won't be ready for a while, but if you are keen on regnans, then I do have one or two, but as you can see, growing more. While I'm passing, I've been planting more Arnagera. I think they'll be good here. This ground is starting to become more fertile. The more time goes on, the more trees are around it, the more the soil is improved. Up on the bank here, in the more exposed part, and then I have planted Rodwai all the way along this bank. And still, while we're here, these are Viminalis, and I'm a fan of Viminalis because they'll be great for coppicing, very tough and resilient. They might have had some damage from the frosts, but as you can see, they just come back so strongly. So really becoming a fan. As I say, I'm looking for sustainable firewood for myself, so I can coppice Viminalis. And they're a fast grower. So, you know, up to 3 meters a year. And what I say about the redness, don't worry about that. That soon disappears once you plant them. So yeah, fan of Viminalis. And finally, what's in this polytunnel? And some of this won't be too long. The globulus, as I say, they just grow so quickly. And I expect these to be ready for another 2 to 4 weeks, 4 weeks maximum. You know, just plugged up on the 26th of June, so that's a month ago, and already now 30 centimetres tall, the best of them, and starting to grow rapidly. As I say, big fan of globulus, looking forward to those I plant here. I grew these lavender stochas to order for a customer. He'll take perhaps half of these, but I'll have a few lavender if you're interested. And just plugging up nitens, I'd say it's going to be the end of the year before I have nitens. Realistically, not quite as fast growing as globulus. Might have a few of them earlier, but generally I'd say end of the year for nitens. These are Paulownia Pau Tong, and these have shot up in the last week or so. So might have fresh stock of Pau Tong in around 4 to 6 weeks, I'd say. And here we have elongata, and I'd say the elongata are again maybe 4 weeks away. What I'd say with most of the Paulownia now is they might come stooled, so I'll cut the tips off. They're very difficult to ship with the leaves. If you're going to come round and pick them up, then that would probably be best. But they readily grow from the root ball, and to be honest, those I've planted here tend to sprout in the second year from basil shoots anyway, so it doesn't really matter in terms of if they're delivered stooled or not. So as you can see, all of these, this was the original stem that was planted, and the following year they put out side shoots from, or not side shoots, basil shoots. So as I say, I don't think it really matters with Paulownia. All of them are the same. So these are the original shoots, and then in the second, third year they put out one from the, well, that one's just a side shoot there, but generally from the base. And this year seems to be the year they're starting to show some promise of thickening up and becoming trees. I haven't pruned these into one telegraph pole, so that would be another reason why they're not perhaps doing 3 metres a year, but they're certainly growing, and they're still growing even at this time of year. Fabulous. And these are Robinia pseudoacacia. Can't say I'm having much success here with Robinia, but other people, perhaps you will. Maybe it's just my soil type or whatever. Anyway, Eucalyptus perenniana I've definitely had success with here. These are a wee ways away, maybe I'd say 8 to 12 weeks weather dependent. These are Eucalyptus Coriambus citriodora, and you really need to smell these to believe it. It's just phenomenal. So these are lemon scented gum, and the smell is just phenomenal. It's incredible. I'm not going to put these down as being one of the most tough and hardy here in Ireland, but definitely just for the smell alone, it's just incredible. So as you can see, I do have a few of these now, so happy to be selling these. They apparently fabulous for beekeepers, and that would be due to the fact that they've got such a long flowering season, sort of early spring to late autumn. So good for beekeepers, fabulous scent, and yeah, I'm not sure how hardy they may or may not be. I haven't actually planted any outside here, but definitely worth experimenting with. As I say, for the smell alone, perhaps you can grow them in a pot if you have a polytunnel and just bring them in during the winter, but just the smell is incredible. These are Robusta swamp mahogany. These are definitely not hardy. I'm going to have another go with them here. You know, I can't really recommend these for Ireland. As I say, I'm going to have one last go with them here, but they don't fare too well in frosty conditions. The snow gums, these are just beautiful for their bark and their aesthetics, just lovely. So as you can see here, quite a few. I don't grow these en masse for mini forests. They're more for the aesthetics for a garden. And leucoxylon, I've had a problem with slugs here, and they've eaten some of these, but I'll have some reasonable stuff. I'll have a few leucoxylon. And parvula, I'll have lots of parvula in around, I'd say probably 12 weeks, weather dependent. And parvula are definitely very tough and hardy, down to -18. These are parvula, and these were just beautiful during the severe frost there at the end of 2022. The leaves were just stunning. They took on a more bluey hue. But I see this one now starting to have more adult foliage, so the leaves are becoming longer, slightly sickle shaped. Just fabulously tough and hardy. And as I say, during the winter the leaves were just beautiful with their bluey tinge. And these are the snow gums, and you know, as I say, these are just beautiful. These are passiflora and these are coccifera. Very healthy, beautiful. Just give you some close-ups of these. So the passiflora, just fabulous with their powdery bark, and these big oval leaves, and coccifera are grown for foliage. And you know, the bark on these, the powdery bark, just beautiful. And it is powdery, so let me see if I can show you here. So if I rub on that, it doesn't come off too much. Okay, not too powdery. Beautiful. And the adult bark, when it starts to peel, there are so many photographs online of coccifera, just gorgeous. But as I say, this is one for a smaller, well, not so much a smaller garden, but it's grown for aesthetics, although coccifera for foliage. And I forgot to show you up in the other polytunnel, I've actually got some stock or some seedlings of Nephophila, another snow gum, growing up there in the other polytunnel. So it'd be fabulous to get some of these. This one is surviving, and yeah, looking forward to seeing this one mature. These are archiri, and I'd put these down as being a substitute for gunnii. Gunnii seed is becoming quite scarce, and if anything, I'd say that the foliage and toughness of archiri is more than equivalent to gunnii. I'll just give you a close-up of these. And as with several varieties, during that cold snap, the foliage on these was just gorgeous, just was fabulous. So, and as you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, so good for foliage, for floral displays. Fabulous trees, can be coppiced if you're looking to do that, though as I say, better alternatives if you're looking for firewood. But beautiful, stately specimen trees and good for foliage. And these have grown at about 1.5 meters a year, not in ideal conditions in the last couple of years with the droughts and severe cold, but very healthy, very pleased. If you're nearby, then come take a look. Just get in touch for directions, and the air code's on the get in touch page on my website along with my phone number. So if you are interested, just get in touch. If you're nearby, come take a look, though I do mail order, so everywhere in Ireland and Europe. Good luck.